What's up, everybody? I'm TJ.
And I'm Kelsey, and we are
the Nashville Wine Duo.
Not her. I wouldn't mind dressing her.
All right, what's up, everybody?
It's Sunday.
Sunday
Wow.
fun day.
And what a day. And
Fun
we're
day.
ending our day in such a good way.
Yes.
Yeah, we are here with a really fun new friend.
Yep. Katy Robbins,
Yes.
Cheers, y'all.
a.k.a. the Fashion Stylist
Yes. Extraordinaire.
Extraordinaire.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Oh man, this wine's good.
We are drinking a lovely bottle that we'll get into later. But first, we wanted to say cheers to Katy for being on the Nashville Wine Duo podcast.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, y'all, and thanks for bringing the wine and for remembering that I love Sauvignon Blanc.
Of course.
Yeah.
And therefore bringing a Poully Fume.
Yes, look
you
at
said
you,
it.
look
said
at
it
you,
great. And
yes.
she knew. She's like, I
Yes.
love old world wine.
Yep.
This is an old world wine. It's so good. And I just think this is so fun. Since we started this podcast, we both wanted to not just have it be like a certain type of people that we talk to, not just like, wine shop people or winemakers. We've like, expanded that to like other people doing things in Nashville that we think are really cool. And you're a fashion stylist here in Nashville. And let's just dive into how you like got started in that.
Okay. Well, first I'd like to tell you that it was funny when you asked me to come on because I know I was like, well, I don't really have wine drinking stories with my clients. Most of my clients here in Nashville are country singers, and really, if we drink, it's whiskey.
Okay.
And you were like, well, no, you don't have to have wine drinking stories.
Yeah.
We just want to talk to you about what you do.
We want to drink wine while you tell
Yes,
us the story.
exactly.
Yes, basically.
And I love to tell stories. I am Italian, and Italians love wine, and they love talking, I guess. So
Yeah.
okay, so what do you want to know? Because
How'd you get started?
How did you get started in what you're
Yeah,
doing?
so you're from New York.
I'm from Hendersonville, Tennessee.
Oh,
Hendersonville,
Yes.
Tennessee. Okay.
And I
Okay.
ran like my ass was on fire. Can we say that?
Oh,
Yeah,
You
you
can
can
say
cuss
that.
all you want.
Okay, good. Because I do cuss like a New Yorker, but I'll try to keep it clean in case my mom listens.
Yeah.
But she knows. So I'm from Hendersonville, Tennessee. I ran like my ass was on fire to New York City because, growing up in Hendersonville, which now I realize was a wonderful, idyllic childhood, and the school bus would have to stop and sit at Johnny Cash's house while the country and western tour bus let everyone out to take pictures. And I would just want to get home and watch Double Dare. And it was like,
Oh, I love Double Dare.
Double
Oh,
Dare.
I love
Cheers
Double
to
Dare.
Double Dare.
Cheers to Double
Yes.
Dare.
Double Dare.
Nickelodeon and Double. Oh, yeah.
Oh man.
But all these tourists were getting out taking pictures of Johnny Cash's house, and the road was so small that both buses couldn't go past.
Yeah.
And they were just growing up surrounded by country music, and I didn't care. I wanted to listen to The Cure and The Doors and Jane's Addiction, and I was like, well, I don't really like country music. I just sort of like my dad's music, and my dad was a country songwriter, and I loved and respected what he did, but didn't really even totally get it. I just thought it was kind of cool that he wrote country songs for a living, but it wasn't my cup of tea, unless someone like Hal Ketchum called, who I had a huge crush on, who, for those of you who don't know, was like a 90s country star. And, God rest his soul, actually. And, if someone like him called the house, I'd get all excited because I had a huge crush on him. Or like Gary Allen, and I had a huge crush on him. But other than that, I was like, whatever, country music. I'm going to New York.
Yeah.
And in New York, I started out interning in the wardrobe department of Sex and the City.
So what age did you leave Tennessee to go to New York? To
it was
follow
around-
your dreams.
To follow my dreams. It was a roundabout way. I thought I was going to be an orthopedic surgeon and went to Emory in Atlanta.
Wow, what
Okay.
a different career.
All
How crazy.
Oh, yeah, one biology class, and I realized that I was not going to be helping young girls with their scoliosis that way. But eventually in New York, I actually did get to dress an amazing pop singer who was a wonderful songwriter who had scoliosis, and it all came full circle because she didn't want to let her record label know she had scoliosis, and hers was pretty severe. And when I told her I had it, and I was like, I thought I could help girls by operating on them, but now I'm going to trust them to help cover their scoliosis. And she is now a hit writer here in Nashville named Tina Perol.
That's so cool.
And she, so anyway, but she was a pop singer in New York for a while, and that's where we met, and we're still friends, and that's as close to helping girls with scoliosis I ever got.
So you got started being an intern on the wardrobe set of Sex and the City. So, like, how did you knock that door down? Like, how did you get into that space?
So, you will appreciate this, TJ. I was a bartender at a champagne lounge called Flute. So
cool
I learned a lot about champagne, and a girl that was also a bartender there, she actually taught me how to bartend, Claire Picacia, shout out. She was interning in the production department of Sex and the City, the TV show. So this is old school, and she now produces she produced films for a while. I feel like she's producing commercials, maybe movies. Anyway, she was like, hey, I know you want to get into fashion. So I had this huge quarter-life crisis, 25 years old. And I'm like, I don't want to be in the music business, which is what my family wanted me to do. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be a music publisher. I don't want to go on to be like an art historian and go to grad school and be an art history professor, which is what I studied. What do I want to do? What have I done and loved doing? And it was being on set as a little actor/model in high school, where I would do country music videos and commercials in Nashville. And they would always have you bring your own clothes, and they would ask me to bring clothes for other people. And looking back, that's totally obvious what I should have done, but I just thought that was fun. That was it. It was just something I did for fun. I needed to pursue my intellectual passions and whatever. Or the country music business that my family wanted me to go into, which is weird because most people don't want their kids to go into the music business. I started a fashion column in my middle school newspaper. I did in elementary school, there was a project that you could do whatever you wanted to for a history project. And I did a runway show of 1800s clothing. I mean, looking back, it was obvious, but it wasn't something I thought, because I didn't sew, I didn't design, I didn't know that there was a thing called fashion styling. I just didn't know it, growing up. So, cut to having a quarter-life crisis, going, what am I good at? And I started, I was like, well, I was an extra on Sex and the City, and they had me bring 3 outfits for an Upper East Side lady who lunches, pastels, no patterns, bring 3 options. And everyone else had to go to the wardrobe truck, and they told me I could wear anything that I brought, and could they borrow this dress for someone else?
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay, so this is a talent? Hearing what someone wants and then finding it. I'm not designing it. I'm not sewing it. I'm not, So I started reaching out to everyone I knew who did anything in fashion and talking to them, and people who were in the buyer's training program at Saks, people who were in wardrobe departments, people who worked at magazines, and just was okay, I want to do one of these things. What do I do? And I just took any opportunity I could get. Plus, I was styling shoots and not even knowing it. Oh, rewind. My best friend, Amy Dickerson, who's this ridiculously talented photographer now based in Los Angeles, we would do photo shoots for fun in high school. And we moved to New York City together, and I was styling shoots for her, for years, not knowing that that's what it was.
That was what you were actually doing.
Yeah, I would get the clothes. Sometimes I would do the makeup just from the few skills I'd had from being a little Nashville model and having amazing makeup artists like Lori Turk, shout out, one of the best makeup artists in town, who's done Taylor Swift for 15 years.
Oh,
who
wow.
Once in a blue moon I get to be on set with, and I'm like, you used to do my makeup when I was 15. Yeah.
That's cool.
So we would do that, and I just didn't know it was a thing.
Yeah.
So I started talking to people, ended up Claire Picacia, who taught me how to bartend at Flute in New York, was they fired all the unpaid interns at Sex and the City. You should apply. And so I was down in New Orleans with Amy Dickerson, my BFF, the photographer, doing a shoot. And I remember sitting at a cafe, typing up a cover letter to Patricia Field at Sex and the City, who, she didn't read it, Marion Choi, shout out to Marion Choi, who's an amazing costume designer, saying, I was a extra, and you guys said I could wear any of my outfits, and you borrowed a dress from me, and now I really want to be an intern, And they hired me as an unpaid intern, the oldest living one ever at age 25, and they gave me a Metro card and lunch.
Wow.
And they're like, go get the clothes and bring them back.
How long did you do that for?
Well, this is the funny part. I say it was for a summer. It was probably about 2 months, because then I got a call from Teen Vogue wanting me to run the closet, and then I got a call from a woman named Inga who wanted me to assist her. She was a celebrity stylist. I did all the Victoria's Secret, Catherine Zeta-Jones, the year she won the Oscar, Demi Moore, the Olsen twins, everyone. And she called me and said, I need you, la la la. And I went and did a day with her. I took the day off from Sex and the City. And Marion Toy said, well, you're working for Inga. You're never going to come back. And I was like, what do you mean? And she goes, well, Inga's going to want to hire you. And after that week, Inga hired me. And I had to go to Sex and the City and say,
I'm done.
I loved this unpaid internship, but I had to go make a living. And then I had to turn down Teen Vogue. That, I had to make this huge life decision. Like, do I go work and run the closet at Teen Vogue, which was relaunching in 2 months? Or do I start working for Inga now, which is freelance? I'll have some time off to style my own shoots. And, the first week it was like Heidi, Tyra, Giselle, Alessandra, Adriana, when they were babies, like all like huge, like biggest photographers, biggest supermodels, flying to LA, and then it was flying to St. Bart's.
So do you go everywhere with Inga? Is that kind of...
So for a year, half the time, the other assistant, Kat, would, and that's a funny story too, would go with her, and half the time I would. So I'd be like, on set with her while Kat would be wrapping her prepping. Is this a little bit of like the Devil Wears Prada kind of? It's exactly.
Yeah.
It was exactly like I would go home. I would go home and cry.
Yeah.
It was very Devil Wears Prada, and then right before she fired me.
So Inga was Inga kind of like Meryl Streep?
Oh, absolutely. But props to Inga. When she fired me, she had 7 assistants in 7 months, and then she hired me, and I lasted a year. Oh. And when she fired me, she told me she didn't want to keep me in a cage, like she was kept in a cage at Vogue for 5 years. Oh. I needed to go off and do my test shoots with that girl, meaning my record covers with Amy Dickerson, my best friend. And she said I would thank her, and I really did, because a year later I had my first magazine cover.
Wow.
And but it was a year, so I saw what Inga did, and I was like, wait, we work with all these people that are in the forefront of like pop culture. We're traveling. She doesn't have an actual boss. Like, it's always a different client, different stuff. It is crazy and chaotic.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is amazing. Like, one day we're with Catherine Zeta-Jones getting her ready for the Oscars. The next day we're with Demi Moore. The next day we're with Pierce Brosnan. And this is, to me, they're still all A-list.
Right.
But this is when they were at the most A-list of their A-list.
Time. Yeah, totally.
And Heidi, Tyra, Giselle. Yeah. Where Adriana and Alessandra were the baby models, and it was just... We were just, St. Bart's, Los Angeles, Miami, New York, at Pier 59 Studios. Like, you would walk around the studios and see all these different people. Yeah. And it was just...
You're like, I want to do this.
I was like, this is what I want to do. You don't have a boss. You work for yourself. You go from client to client. And she always had fun on set. This is what Inga was great at. She was great with the clients and just how she interacted with everyone. And, on-set styling. I really learned by watching her how to be a stylist.
Right. So you were she was kind of training you, like, even more. So,
yes, without
you even really knowing.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. And so when Kat, the other stylist, and this is the funny part, Inga admitted to me right before she fired me, she accidentally hired me because... There was Katrine, who was Belgian, like Inga, and then Catherine, me. I guess, I thought I'd put Katy on my resume, but my full name is Catherine. And she called the wrong person and hired me by accident.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
That's just meant to be.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That's crazy.
So who was your first cover? So,
she might not be able to say if you can't say.
No. I don't remember. Do you know what's so funny? I don't remember what the first mag... You know what? I think maybe... I remember my first, big shoot after going out on my own.
What was it?
It was, and talk about full circle, it was Ron Livingston right after he had broken up with Carrie on the Post-it note in Sex and the City.
Oh my gosh.
So Ron Livingston
crazy.
from Office Space.
Yeah. Oh man, Burger.
Yeah.
Burger. Yeah, from Sex and the City. Burger. I hated Burger.
So
he
broke,
was so annoying.
and he broke up with her on the Post-it, and right after that is when I had a shoot where in one day I got to dress him, and then oh my gosh, I forgot his name. He was in the movie with Julia Roberts where he was dying of cancer and they fell in love. His father played George Patton or General. Oh gosh, this is where I'm going to sound like a fashion girl who doesn't.
I know. I remember.
He was from Singles.
I don't remember.
Anyway, it was 2 shoots in one day, but one was Ron Livingston, and so that was my first big shoot. But I think my first cover, it was a small local magazine called New York Moves, and it was Mina Savari.
Oh, wow.
Very cool.
And that was because my dear friend Bianca Bianconi, shout out to Bianca, who was a huge publicist. At the time, she was the assistant to Jill Fritzo, also a huge publicist, shout out to Jill. And that was where on a shoot with the girl from Scream and Party 5.
Naomi Campbell.
No, it's Naomi, not Campbell. That's the supermodel.
Oh, I got it wrong.
Nev Campbell.
Nev Campbell.
Nev
Yeah.
So Bianca was on a shoot with Nev Campbell while assisting Jill Fritzo. And this stylist, Inga, was complaining how she'd had 7 assistants in 7 months and could never find a good assistant. And Bianca was like, my friend Katie wants to assist a stylist. And then got her info. I sent my resume to Inga's agent. And then a few months later, she calls me while I'm at Sex and the City and texts me away from Sex and the City, accidentally hiring me, thinking I was a different Katrine.
Wow.
Yes.
So then, fast forward from that, then you end up just kind of pursuing it on your own for a while?
Yes. So
you leave Inga.
Yes, and on my time off with her, I'd style my own shoots, and I had met a couple of really amazing British fashion stylists, Eugenie Hanmer and Deborah Brett, who was like they were both the mentors I never had, but they were my mentors.
Yeah.
And they came from Harper's and Queen and would come and do shoots, which is the British Harper's Bazaar, and have me assist them. And then after one time assisting them, they would be like, oh, we can't do these little shoots for Harper's and Queen.
Like
this.
passing you stuff.
Yes.
That's where it starts.
And Eugenie, she recommended me to her brother Pierce, who was now a huge set designer, I think. But he was a photographer for a while. And that's how I got the Ron Livingston gig.
Gotcha.
And then Deborah just recommended me to people, and I was doing these shoots on my own, and it was just great that these women who came over from London saw something in this American designer, or designer. I'm suddenly a designer. I'm making myself a designer. I'm definitely not a designer. This little American fashion assistant, and helped me.
Where you had gone after that?
So Inga gave me the boot.
Yeah.
And
you did the Livingston cover.
Yes. But at the Casa Del Mar, she gave me the boot, and I went up to my room, and I remember I ordered a glass of Cabernet Sauvignon and a filet mignon as room service.
That's a good pairing.
I didn't order the bottle because I was because she fired me, is Victoria's Secret not going to pay for this? And I'm not going to be making any money, so I don't know. But to bring it back to wine, I remember I ordered a glass of Cabernet and a filet mignon. And I had a couple tears, and I wiped my tears away, and I said, fuck this.
Yeah.
I am a fashion stylist now. I'm not an assistant anymore. And I felt like I wouldn't have been ready to go out on my own for at least 6 months or a year more, but I was like, I'm going out on my own. Mm-hmm. And I called everyone I knew, and I was like, I'm out on my own. And for the next year, I assisted occasionally, the British fashion stylists I told you about in magazine editors. And I did little stints here and there for 2 weeks to a month at a time at W Magazine and W Jewelry, which no longer exists, but W Magazine does, and Women's Wear Daily. And would do little assisting gigs, but always thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have to go back to bartending. I should make sure I keep up my connections at Flute. But I was able to support myself, for a year, both assisting and doing my own shoots. And then after a year, I was able to start saying no to assisting and just go out on my own. And
That's
I had to
great.
turn down a huge fashion editor who's like literally a legend. Her name is Sarah Jane Hoare, Hoare, one of the biggest British fashion editors ever, really. And she needed a new assistant, and Eugenie had recommended me to her because she had assisted her. Strangely, she's legally blind.
Oh, wow.
And she's she has like one of those gorgeous coffee table books of all of her work. And that was a huge thing in my career too. I'm like, well, do I take this job, which will thrust me into like super high fashion world, or do I do this like celebrity styling thing? And I had to, my gut just told me, say no to Sarah Jane and
keep doing
my own thing. And then it just started. Oh, one of my first things was dressing Hanson.
Dressed Hanson?
Hanson?
Oh, yes.
Without fame. Yes.
What? That's great.
And then one of my first big jobs that was I've never been this nervous ever, was dressing Blondie, like Debbie Harry and the rest of the band Blondie.
Wow.
So I just had some like people who I had worked with as an assistant who knew I'd gone out on my own, who started hiring me. Another, which didn't turn out so well, but was Scarlett Johansson. I just had some wonderful opportunities that were really, some of the first ones were started through my dear friend Bianca Bianconi and her boss at the time, Jill Fritzo. And because they were at PMK, a big PR firm, and they're like, well, hey, for our up-and-comers or for some jobs that aren't quite as big budget, like, let's recommend Katy. And it was wonderful. And now it's great because I'll be at like the CMAs and see Jill Fritzo. She'll be there with clients and, actually strangely, I never see Bianca at the CMAs because she's busy running a huge PR firm in New York and coming back and forth. We just see each other for fun. But yeah, Bianca, took over my column because she was a year younger than me. So when I went to high school, she took Katie's Collectibles, the fashion column I started at Hawkins Middle School, and turned it into Bianca's Boutique.
Love that.
And we've been friends ever since. And then she was really integral in helping me start my career as a stylist.
So what brought you full circle to Nashville? Back to Nashville?
So it was love, because I'm a hopeless romantic. Well, it really started as freelancer's guilt. Freelancer's guilt is when you don't want to travel or go anywhere or take any time off, because what if you get a call and you get a job? Like, I can't go home and visit my family. Like, what if I get a shoot? So I was like, wait a second. I'm dressing all these celebrities in New York. But in New York, it was, one day would be a newscaster. It would be like Katie Couric, and the next day it'd be Debbie Harry, and the next day it would be Rufus Wainwright, and the next day it'd be like a chef like Bobby Flay. I mean, it was nothing, like nobody was the same. It was all shapes, sizes, all professions. The next day it would be an author. I'm like, but they're all celebrities, and like I started dressing a couple of musicians, so I was like, well, maybe I could dress some country singers. So I started calling everyone I knew in Nashville, and through wonderful friends, met Regina Stuvey and Joanna Carter, who were really huge in introducing me to some of my first country singer clients. So Regina at the time was a publicist. I think she was at Universal. And Joanna Carter was head of creative at Capitol and now VP of creative at Universal. And now Regina is, I think, at Warner. But they were like, we had mutual friends, and they said, they looked at my work and they're like, okay, we'll introduce you to some people and see, if anyone here wants to use you as a stylist. And then Wade Hunt, who now has his own design firm, but he was head of creative at Sony, he was actually the first one to be like, ooh, I want someone who can bring that New York sensibility and something a little more fashion-y, but like still kind of understands Nashville.
What's funny is even being in your apartment, I feel that. I feel like this fusion of like
New York and
Nashville. Yeah, I think that I really I get that. And even you are like that, which is cool. Like, it was your personality.
Well, I mean, because this is the thing, I never truly fit in Nashville, but I never totally fit in New York. I mean, it's sort of the story of my life. I never fit in with the total nerds in my AP classes, but I never like totally fit in with the totally alternative kids, like who wanted to party, or the popular kids who wanted to party. I just kind of go in between all these worlds, and that's how I feel like I do in my work and my life too.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, I'm not hardcore country, but I'm like always around these country singers. I'm not like, you know, but then I still have my clients in New York, but I'm not hardcore New York. Like, and then I did have a New Yorker be like, yeah, you really are very Nashville now. And I'm like, really? Like, cause I don't know. I always was a little Nashville, but I am, but yeah, I mean, now I'm wearing a Wrangler jumpsuit.
It's very cute.
But it's tie-dye, you know? And then I, you know what? I realized really this year, I'm like, I am Nashville. You know, my hashtag was like NYC Nashville Stylist, because I really used to be almost all New York City. Like for 15 years, I was solely New York City. And then I started slowly coming back here. And then during the pandemic, when I really couldn't travel, I was like, thank God I have all these amazing Nashville clients. And it really started, my first big one that I guess put me on the map, if you will, was Eric Church. So Joanna Carter, who's at the time head of creative at Capitol Records and now VP of creative at Universal, was like, I really want to introduce you to Eric Church. He's looking for a new stylist, and like he doesn't want to be, you know, like everyone else, and you know, and I think you're New York, but you get Nashville, and you go back and forth. And at the time, I was living, and then I show up at his house, in New York, and we actually looked at some books. He had some images of Bruce Springsteen. I looked at a few pieces of clothing he had, and we like, you know, talked back and forth. Just had a good back and forth, and with his wife Catherine, who's always a good communicator, you know. It's like, well, did he really mean this or that? And left the meeting at his house, and it was this weird freak ice storm, and it took Joanna Carter and I 2 hours to get back from Eric's house, and it took 20 minutes to get there from Capitol, and it was brutal. We literally almost peed in our pants in my car. I was like, okay, can we just we're in standstill traffic. Nobody's moving. People are sliding off the road. You get out and pee, and then I'll get out and pee. And we're like, we can wait. But we almost just peed on the side of the road in the middle of Nashville because I think it was Valentine's Day or something.
I remember it.
I almost ran off the road on the way back from Eric's house. But that was sort of my kind of the game changer that I didn't know was a game changer at the time. It was pre-Chief, his record that kind of changed his career. And this whole thing happened with a flag scarf that was just me being born on the 4th of July and him doing a song called Springsteen and trusting me to put a scarf on a dude when back then dudes weren't wearing scarves. And that was a huge part of building my Nashville career too, because people really thought of me as this New York stylist who was just like coming back to Nashville to dress some country singers.
Right.
And that kind of put me on the map as I feel like our careers really blew up together in Nashville.
That's
for me.
really cool.
So when you style these artists, do they take that styling into their day-to-day life? Or is it kind of just like for a photo shoot or an album cover or this piece? Or do they actually okay, I'm actually going to use this in my day-to-day life and this is going to be my thing? In their public life, yes. In private, they're still going to have on their Crocs and their PJ pants on the back. Yeah, but I'm saying and their business. Yes. You know, if they're going to their office look. Yes. That's their office look that you've kind of created.
For a lot of them, yes. And that is, so the up and coming artists, their management, sometimes even before they have a record label, will just hire me to help them develop their style. Yeah. To make sure that they look like a star whenever they are playing the round down the street or going out to Losers or wherever the kids hang out, you know, and meet industry people. Yeah. We say going to Kroger, but still they're probably going to go to Kroger in their PJ bottoms. Right. But, or Trader Joe's, actually.
Yes. I know. I saw Noah Cyrus about a week ago.
Probably in her PJ bottoms.
Girl is in her pajamas.
Yeah.
100%.
So, but yeah, they from the get-go, if it's more than just a one-off shoot, which here there aren't one-off shoots. In New York, there would be one-off shoots. It'd be like, we're hiring you to dress this person for this magazine cover. Here, it's usually like, we want someone to help them develop their style, and then I get a call every few months, and it may be for a record cover, but then we'll get extra clothes for their tour and for their meet and greets and for just kind of their life.
So then do they so you get the clothes and then they keep the clothes after you buy them?
Yes.
Like, okay, so it's all part of the cost, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a budget for clothes.
Right.
So
Okay.
you do the tour outfits too. So like if
Usually,
they're
yeah.
switching,
Yeah,
okay.
but I'm not there putting the clothes on.
No,
them
but
because
you picked them up.
That.
Yeah.
You know their
That's
sizes
so
and everything.
fun.
So that's pretty cool.
So I
Do
play dress up for a living.
Do you
Yeah.
enjoy men or women more? Or does it matter? It doesn't matter.
Both. And this is the weird thing, is in Nashville, people think of me as a men's stylist, and it's two reasons. I'm very lucky to have two of the biggest male artists.
Clients. Yeah.
Who are your two biggest?
Eric Church and Luke Combs.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, like against each other for like Entertainer of the Year and weird things that are good problems to have, but
So you root for both?
problems. Yes. I mean, yes. Like it is a very weird position to be in.
Yeah.
And it's an actual problem. But also, if you look at a top 20 country chart, still, usually there's only 3 or 4 women out of the 20. So even though I have amazing, amazing female clients who are going to be huge, huge stars, to name a few, Stephanie Quayle, Erin Kinsey, The Pretty Wild, Megan Patrick, she's about to blow up. I have these amazing, and for 5 years I had Mickey Guyton, who I love. And, amazing female clients. But here, people think of me mostly as a male stylist, even though I dress all these.
So all the females
women.
you just mentioned, everybody's got to go to their
absolutely.
Apple
Because
Music
they're about,
and Spotify and listen to their music.
So I
sure.
will repeat their names because literally they're all on the cusp of making it huge. So Stephanie Quayle, Erin Kinsey, The Pretty Wild, and Megan Patrick, and I have so many others that I'm in right now. Of course, when I'm on the spot, some people are like, well, who did you dress this week? And I'm like, I had fittings and shoots every week, and I can't even think of who I dress.
Yeah,
it's been very busy, which is great.
Yeah,
but amazing women. But then what was so funny is in New York, people thought of me as women over 40, gay men, and young ingenues.
Oh, wow.
Oh, so it's like totally flipped.
Oh yeah.
That's funny.
And here it's like hot country dudes.
That's awesome. Well,
But it's really everything, and I enjoy all of it. Now, some are like, oh, aren't men easier? Technically, yes, because there just isn't as much to possibly do, but that's why it's so hard, is to make them all look different and figure out what's their thing.
I can see that,
because,
totally.
Women,
you have so much more to choose from.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there's a lot more to go into. It takes twice as long to dress a woman as it does a man, but you can get more creative. But then sometimes I find that I get the most creative when I have lots of limits put on me, which is what it can be with men sometimes,
Yeah.
And then a lot of men in country music don't really want to branch out and do things. Now I have some, oh my gosh, and how did I forget? Madeline Edwards.
The name came to her.
She is about to blow up, and she's amazing and gorgeous and fabulous, and I love her so much. And I think of her almost more as a friend than as a client. So I forgot to say her name. She, huge. She's gonna be huge, and she's amazing.
I'm gonna have to look up all these.
Yeah.
People.
She opened for
you
Chris
mentioned.
Stapleton.
I know what you're talking about, but I need to look.
Yeah, because I've seen their photos pop up when you've done their makeup.
Yeah,
on my little
like
Instagram.
Yeah.
They've done their makeup. He's such a
I mean,
cool
not
guy.
makeup when you've done their fashion.
Yeah.
When I'm
not
dressed
makeup.
up.
When they're all dressed up.
He's had 3 bottles of Poully Fume.
No, it's like when you said you were a designer. Same
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. I'm accusing you of calling me a makeup artist, and I call myself a designer, which I am absolutely 1,000% not.
I think sometimes though, when it's kind of funny, sometimes when you think stylist, you think that they do everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
You think they do the hair, you think they do the makeup,
Yeah.
and
People
it's
are like,
crazy.
"Can you cut my
there's
hair?"
Seriously, there's a hairstylist, there's a makeup artist. There's so much that goes into this. Man, it's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, I never knew this world.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, but you don't know what.
No, you
Again,
don't.
you don't know what's all in.
We do. We do need to talk about this wine, though.
This wine.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So Katy said that she liked Sauvignon Blanc, Albarino.
I do love an Albarino.
Yeah.
So we decided to pick, and you said it perfectly the first time. Say it again.
Poully Fume.
Yes. An awesome Sauvignon Blanc from the Poully Fume region of France. And we love this wine. It's dry.
It's so good.
It does taste a little woodsy, like you said. It's earthy. It's
But
old
yet not
world.
oaky at all.
Not oaky at all.
Which is what I do not like.
Yes.
I think it's got a lot of like minerality to it.
Yes,
Mhm.
it is very minerally.
Yep. So I thought this would be a good one just for us to drink while we
Very
heard
delicious.
about your
It's $15.99
$15.99 at
from Trader
Joe's.
Joe's. We worked today, and oh my gosh,
I don't know how
forget.
you came here after
No.
working all
This was
day.
so not relaxing, but we forget. I forget. People forget. Oh, I kind of remembered, but then the customers were all like, "Why is it so busy?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"All of the college kids are coming back
Yeah.
literally this weekend."
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we have Vanderbilt, we have Belmont, Lipscomb. And I mean, most of the people going through the line today were either college students or parents paying for
paying.
college students to go into their dorms. And people forget, like, that is way more crazy than back to school for
Well,
like,
it's
young
one
kids.
thing
Oh,
for
yeah.
the staff to say, like, this is crazy, this
Yes.
is nuts. But when other people, the customers, are noticing it,
Yes.
and you have, like, people going, what the hell is going
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
in here? It's
Like, is there about to be
Yeah.
another
Right, yeah,
lockdown?
just-
Well,
Yeah,
and it
people
was
are like-
was very difficult to get around the store
You
today.
couldn't-
The
yeah.
lines, like, nonstop.
Yeah.
You know, and you're trying to still talk and be, like, kind to people. I'm just, like, sweating all day.
And
then
people
I'm-
are like, "Oh, Nashville Wine Duo."
Oh,
So what is
no.
that like? Like, do people? Because I did it
Yeah.
to you before you asked me to do this. Like
Yeah.
this last year, you didn't even know who I was sometimes because
No, I
we'd
don't
be in
know if I
masks.
did. Yeah.
And I'd be like, "Hey, little
Well,
like,
I know
she
a lot
doesn't
of
even
people-
remember,
well,
but I love them. They're the
It
Nashville
probably
Wine
no,
Duo."
it was probably the masks.
Yeah.
Seriously, because a lot of people with the masks we couldn't tell a lot of
Yeah.
the time.
But
And then
do you-
there are some people we just don't know.
Yeah,
that
but people
say-
think they know you now.
Yeah, yeah.
So is that hard to actually work with people being like Nashville Wine Duo, Nashville Wine Duo, and you're like, I actually have to ring people up. Like I actually have to go manage things.
No, I mean, like, honestly, for us, I think, like, with how difficult, like, the pandemic was, like, I kind of felt like that was a way to, like, it was a highlight in our day a lot of the time. When people would say something to us,
Uh-huh.
you know, wearing the mask for, like, 8 hours a day, like, you know, people were so divided in the country over so many things, and, like, people would argue. And I think that was just kind of like we just wanted to bring, like, light and fun to people's lives and create this community. So then when people would come in and talk to us, it was like, wow, we have these friends and people that we're reaching out to that we have no idea. And it felt very special. I mean, we'd have people message us and be like, my life's been so hard, but, like, watching you guys has, like, made me happy. And, like, it's just like that. And that, you know, I'm like, wow, that's cool that we're doing
Cheers
this.
to that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, doing it through wine. But I think actually what's kind of crazy is I think that Trader Joe's, for both of us, we're both very extroverted. We're both very, like, this is one of the reasons we were so drawn to each other, is I think we're both, like, I'm not trying to, like, toot my own horn or whatever, but I think we're both very kind-hearted in nature. We're
Just
both
love people.
Yeah, we love people. We love
Yeah.
people. Like, we love to, like, have grace for people and see the benefit of the doubt in every person's situation. Like, we just think all people come from all different walks, and, like, no one can be put in a box, and just, like, and that's how Trader Joe's is. Like, we show everybody love the same, whoever they are, whatever they are. You know, it's just, and I think that we're like that too. We just love giving good customer service. And so then that kind of really tied into, like, the Nashville Wine Duo. And, you know, because at Trader Joe's, like, there's people that are having hard times, and, like, you can give them flowers and make them feel better. And so then it was like we started to do that just with wine, and then it was just, like, expanding from there. And I don't know, what do you think?
It's been cool. No, yeah, I agree.
But you don't find it difficult to work when people are trying to talk to you?
I actually like when people say, hey,
Yeah.
I follow you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that is fun.
I
So
just
it
wanted to
hasn't
let you know.
gotten so big that it's become a problem.
No.
Like, it
no.
hasn't hindered your ability to work.
No, if anything, it kind of just makes us laugh sometimes. Because, like,
Yeah.
I'll be, like, taking cards out, and this person will walk me, she's like, I love following you and your husband. And I'm like, who are you? I don't even know you. Or I'll be stocking cheese, and she's like, I follow you. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so weird, but so sweet.
Yeah, but, like,
weird,
compared
it's
to the
weird.
Instagram world, we're so tiny. Like, we really are. But I think it makes it feel bigger because we're so Nashville focused.
Yes.
That mostly everybody that follows us lives in Nashville. So
Yeah.
then they actually see us sometimes when we're out. and like,
Yeah.
but it's
we
fun.
were watching last night. Do you watch Seinfeld?
No, I've watched many episodes, but like I can't.
We were watching the Seinfeld episode last night,
which
and
one?
Seinfeld in the locker room with Keith Hernandez from the New York Mets.
Okay, I did not see that.
And they're talking like, that's Keith Hernandez over there from the New York Mets, and Seinfeld was like, he would never know who I am. I'm just a little comedian.
Yeah.
Keith Hernandez walks over and is like, "You're Jerry Seinfeld, the comedian." He knew him. And like,
Yes.
so it's the funny thing. But I was like, yeah, we're just like the little Nashville wine duo. Like we're a blimp on the radar. So when someone does say I follow you, it's like
pretty cool.
Oh, it's pretty cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So.
I mean, it would make me happy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, and we do work at it. Like, it has been, like, a hustle. Like, I mean, being on Instagram and all that, like, everybody thinks it's like, oh, you're just filming a video or whatever, but, like, there's a lot of things that go into it. And
oh, I know. That's why I barely do it, and I have, like, 2 followers, because it hasn't been a priority.
Yeah.
And my daughter, Stella, who's like, Mom, you're going to talk about me on the podcast, right? And I'm like, well, of course I'm going to talk about you on the podcast. So, you know, Stella is like, you have to be on Instagram more. You have to be on TikTok. Are they your followers? Are those your fans? People saw me at the grocery store. Well, I haven't done it.
I hate it.
Because I don't want Stella to do it. But we have to make sure to get this into the podcast
Yes,
somehow.
do it.
So Stella, my daughter Stella, who's 9 years old, and is brilliant and fabulous and wonderful, and loves to dance and is so creative. She loves K-pop, and her dream is to be a K-pop artist. And I've told her typically you have to be Korean to be a K-pop artist.
There's one kind of thing that goes with being a K-pop artist.
You can be anything you want. But you tell your daughter you can be anything you want. So, but she's very into Instagram and followers and do you follow them and do they follow you? And someone saw me in the grocery store the other day and it was someone from high school.
Yeah.
After I talked to her, Stella goes, "Is that a fan?"
You should just play along and say, yes. It is. I have a lot of fans.
Oh, but it's their whole world, a kid's world, their concept of fame.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Is so different and weird, and with what I do, these people come to the house sometimes. So now she was just used to country singers coming to the house for fittings or going to their parties or whatever. And now that she's 9, she's starting to think. She was like, "Well, are they really famous?"
Right.
And
I think they view it all as likes and views and stuff like that. I think they think like that. That's at least ours do. But
she doesn't think of that in terms of likes and views so much. Although when I did tell her I had a new client who had
followers,
something ridiculous TikTok followers.
Yeah.
I mean crazy.
Yeah, millions or something.
Yeah. She was so excited about that person that doesn't have a record deal yet.
Right.
And, I've never even heard of.
No, you're right. These are the people that are more famous to them, I think, in the future.
And she thinks it's so big, and then she's just like, "Oh yeah, going to Eric Church's Halloween party."
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, if we mentioned someone that played video games on YouTube that had 40 billion followers to our daughters,
that'd be a bigger deal.
"Oh my gosh!"
They don't even know. They don't even know who Madonna was.
Yeah.
I had to really introduce Stella to Beyonce and Madonna. Yeah, she's like, "Oh, who's that?" Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
I know.
Well, I think part of the reason it's so different is because growing up, we were so much more influenced by what our parents did because there wasn't any of our own device or our own headphone.
For me, it was MTV.
Well,
that's what I was gonna say. You had television where you saw MTV and stuff like that.
Mine was also the radio.
And the radio.
Yes,
because
but the radio I think tied in with MTV and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now you don't.
But they
you
don't
have all
listen
these
to the
streaming
radio
services.
anymore.
No, nobody just listens to the radio.
They can choose what they want to listen to.
Exactly.
So
we listen to K-pop all the time.
Oh wow. Well, this has been so fun.
Thank you, Katie, for sitting down with us.
Next time, bring a Korean snack because Stella's really into Korean snacks.
Totally. Does she like spicy stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Korean snacks, K-pop.
Yeah, I actually would love to do another follow-up podcast and just ask more questions about different things.
Yeah.
It'd be really fun.
And I do feel I talked so much more about New York and what brought me to Nashville than the Nashville journey.
No, we'll do a part 2 of this. That would be so fun, especially because you are so close and it's easy and you're so fun. Well, I want to hang out with you.
You'll have to edit this because I warned you, I'm a talker.
No.
This
this
will
is
need to be
perfect.
edited.
No, you're good.
We don't edit.
No,
We're-
and next
we're all
time I
real
can come actually
natural.
looking cute. Seriously, I was so embarrassed. I was like, we're going to stylist house. And
Yeah, I knew you were coming from work.
I know,
But I asked him, I'm like, do I have to put, like, are you going to take a picture? Should I put makeup on? He goes, we'll probably take a picture.
Yeah,
we're
well,
taking
don't
pictures
get this down.
I don't put, like, I literally don't even put on makeup.
No,
when
I hurt my
clients come
foot
over.
like a couple of
Oh
months
my
ago.
gosh. We're going to end this podcast
Okay.
with all the whining from the ladies. Cheers, y'all.
To not wear
Oh my
makeup.
gosh, I hurt makeup.